That's 20 and 10 for the game.
I have 2 and 20, I believe.
Ah, Miss Eliza, is your patient asleep?
Is she better, Miss Elizabeth?
Yes, her fever is quite gone.
I'm so glad. Will you join us in a game of cards?
No, thank you. Please continue with whatever you were playing. I'd enjoy looking at some of your books, if I may.
Miss Eliza is a great reader, I'm sure, and has no pleasure in anything so frivolous as cards.
Is that true, Miss Elizabeth?
Not at all. I'm not a great reader, and I have pleasure in many frivolous things. Thank you.
I'm sure you have pleasure in nursing your sister. And I hope it will soon be increased by seeing her quite well.
Thank you. I think she may be taken home tomorrow.
Oh, not so soon.
I'm afraid so. You see, my mother's expecting a visit from our cousin Collins, whom none of us has ever seen.
Oh, naturally, you're curious to see her.
My cousin Collins is a man, but we are curious to see him. Naturally.
Miss Jane mustn't go out until the doctor advises it, cousin or no cousin. There are others in the library if you care for none of these.
This will suit me perfectly. Thank you.
What a delightful library you have at Pemberley, Mr. Darcy.
It ought to be good. It's the work of many generations.
Shall we continue, Darcy?
You and Miss Bingley play. I really must finish my letter to my sister.
How I long to see your sister again, Mr. Darcy. I've never met anyone who delighted me so much. Such a countenance, such manners, and so extremely accomplished for one of her age.
It's amazing to me how young ladies can have the patience to be so accomplished as they all are.
All young ladies are not accomplished, Charles.
All I know are. Aren't all you know accomplished, Darcy?
I can't boast of knowing more than half a dozen who are really so.
Nor I. What do you think, Miss Eliza?
I think that you and Mr. Darcy must comprehend a great deal in your idea of the accomplished woman.
I do.
Oh, certainly. No one can really be esteemed accomplished unless she has a thorough knowledge of music, singing, dancing, and the modern languages. Besides, she must also possess a certain something in the tone of her voice, in her address, in her expressions, as well as in her figure and carriage.
To which she must add something more substantial in the improvement of her mind by extensive reading.
I'm no longer surprised at your knowing only 6 accomplished women. I wonder at your knowing any.
Caroline, are we to discuss this subject further? Or shall we play piquet?
Oh, I don't wish to play cards, Charles. I think I'd prefer a book, too. After all, there's no enjoyment like reading.
I play with you, Mr. Bingley.
You cut? Do you like dancing, Miss Elizabeth?
Love it.
As soon as your sister has fully recovered, I shall give a ball.
Oh, that's a delightful idea.
Scusate.
Ah, signorina Jane. Come sta sua sorella? Siamo veramente in ansia per lei.
Oh, speravo stesse meglio stasera, signor Bingley, ma invece è ancora piuttosto abbattuta. Le ho dato le medicine e spero riesca a dormire.
Ho detto alla governante di vegliarla questa notte.
Oh, non vogliamo disturbare tanto. Posso benissimo vegliarla io. Anzi, se permettono, tornerò su al più presto. Vorrei solo prendere un libro.
Posso darle qualche consiglio? Oppure desidera sceglierlo da sola?
No, no, lo sceglia pure lei. È più interessante scoprire il suo carattere che il mio.
E perché?
Oh, perché il mio è abbastanza comune. Il suo invece deve essere una rarità, almeno qui da noi. A Londra non so.
Non sospettavo si dedicasse allo studio dei caratteri. È una piacevole occupazione intellettuale.
Sì, utile soprattutto per distinguere quelli falsi dai sinceri, i modesti dai presuntuosi.
Ah, senza dubbio. E poi la provincia deve essere un meraviglioso campo d'osservazione.
E perché?
Perché, non s'offenda, ma con meno distrazioni, con minori contatti, qui la gente è più sola e diviene più originale.
Vuol dire eccentrica?
Sì, anche in un certo senso.
E un po' matta?
No, non volevo dire questo.
Ah, sarebbe sperare troppo. Io adoro la gente un po' matta.
Davvero? E detesta il buonsenso.
Quando è la base di un individuo, sì. Il buonsenso deve essere usato come un arnese, uno strumento. quando se ne riconosce la necessità, ma non deve rendere schiava la nostra intelligenza, la nostra fantasia.
Lei ha un grande potere di convinzione, signorina Bennet.
Ma non fino al punto di mutare le sue convinzioni, vero?
Devo ammettere che ha capito anche questo. Ecco, questa è la mia scelta.
Jane Thompson, il castello d'indolenza.
Vi si narra di un mago che attraeva ospiti in un castello, illudendoli che vi avrebbero condotto una vita meravigliosa.
Solo un mago poteva ingannarli così. Lei mi ritiene molto istruita, signor Darcy?
Tutte le signorine lo sono oggigiorno.
Tutte?
Sì, sanno laccare un tavolino, sanno coprire un paravento, sanno fare delle borse a rete e ritengono che questo significhi essere istruite. In realtà posso dire di conoscerne soltanto 5 o 6 nel cerchio delle mie conoscenze che siano veramente istruite.
Allora il suo concetto di donna istruita deve comprendere capacità eccezionali, vero?
Appunto.
Se è così, non mi sorprende che ne conosca soltanto 5 o 6 di donne istruite. Mi meraviglio anzi che ne conosca tante.
È dunque tanto severa verso il suo sesso da dubitare che esistano donne simili.
Io non ho mai visto mostri del genere. Ma se è vero che ne conosce anche una soltanto, perché non la sposa subito?
Signorina Bennet, non avrebbe desiderio di ballare questo reel? Le ho chiesto se desidera ballare questa danza scozzese.
Oh, l'avevo dita anche prima. Solo che non ho saputo decidere all'istante cosa rispondere. Lei lo so. Voleva che le rispondessi di sì per prendersi la rivincita del nostro primo incontro. E allora ho deciso di dirle che anche questa sera non ho affatto voglia di ballare con lei. E ora mi disprezzi pure se lo desidera. Buonanotte.
No, davvero. Non è questo che desidero.
Buonanotte a tutti.
Buonanotte.
Porti i nostri auguri a sua sorella.
Grazie.
È una di quelle donne che tentano di farsi valere col sesso forte disprezzando il loro. E con molti uomini questa tattica riesce. Sì, ma a mio avviso è una tattica meschina.
Ah, senza dubbio. Tutte le arti che le donne si abbassano talvolta ad adoperare per piacere agli uomini sono ugualmente meschine. Anche quella di sparlare delle probabili rivali.
Join us for cards.
Thank you. I will amuse myself with a book.
Do you prefer reading to cards? How very singular.
Sir Liza Bennet despises cards. She's a great reader and has no pleasure in anything else.
I am not a great reader, and I have pleasure in many things.
In nursing your sister, for one. Young ladies are so very accomplished. It is amazing to me how they can all have the patience to be so accomplished.
Oh, young ladies. My dear Charles, what do you mean?
Well, I'm sure I never heard a young lady spoken of for the first time without being informed that she was very accomplished.
The word is applied to many a woman who deserves it only for painting tables or covering screens. I only know half a dozen young ladies who are truly accomplished.
Then you must demand a great deal of them.
Yes, I do.
You must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, dancing, drawing, and modern languages. She must possess a certain something in her air and manner of walking, in the tone of her voice, in her address and expression.
And to all this she must add to the improvement of her mind by extensive reading.
And you know half a dozen. I rather wonder at you knowing any.
You are severe upon your own sex.
I never saw such a woman. She does not exist.
Oh, she exists, Miss Eliza, in the form of his own sister.
Miss Georgiana Darcy is a paragon of everything desirable in a young woman.
Indeed she is.
I am a little tired. Pray excuse me. Good night.
Good night.
Eliza Bennet is one of those who seek to recommend themselves to the opposite sex by undervaluing their own. Paltry art.
There is a meanness in all the arts by which women seek to captivate men. Whatever bears affinity to cunning is despicable.
She's safely upstairs. Her manners are so bad.
A mixture of pride and impertinence.
No conversation, no style, no taste, no beauty.
Doesn't like ragout.
But she's clearly an excellent walker. Oh, these country folk. She looked almost wild.
They're so untidy, so
Her
blousy.
petticoat 6 inches deep in mud.
I did not notice her petticoat. I noticed her face and thought she looked remarkably well.
You must have noticed it, Mr. Darcy. You would not wish your sister to appear like that.
True, but Miss Eliza Bennet is not my sister.
All the same, her sudden appearance on such a spurious excuse as her sister's illness must have affected your admiration of her fine eyes.
Not at all. They were brightened by the exercise.
Now, Jane Bennet is a sweet girl, and I wish with all my heart she were well settled. But with such a mother, and a father with a mere 2,000 a year, and that entailed away from his daughters, an uncle who is an attorney, another who lives in Cheapside, and oh, those little sisters.
If she had uncles enough to fill all Cheapside, it would not make her one jot less agreeable.
But it must lessen her chance of marrying a man of any consideration in the world.
And the chance of her sister Elizabeth, too.
Quite so. Now, perhaps we can forget the mud on her petticoat.
I believe you will find Mr. Bingley is in the drawing room, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Darcy, come and advise me, for Mr. Hurst carries all before him. Oh!
May I inquire after your sister, Miss Bennet?
I thank you. I believe she's a little better.
I'm very glad to hear it.
Oh, Mr. Hurst, I'm quite undone.
Should have played the deuce.
He's undone us all, Mr. Darcy. Will you join us, Miss Bennet? I thank you, no.
You prefer reading to cards, do you? Singular.
Miss Bennet despises cards. She's a great reader and has no pleasure in anything else. I deserve neither such praise nor such censure. I am not a great reader and take pleasure in many things. And what do you do so secretly, sir?
It is no secret. I'm writing to my sister.
Oh, dear Georgiana. Oh, how I long to see her. Is she much grown since the spring? Is she as tall as me?
She's now about Miss Elizabeth Bennet's height, or a little taller.
And so accomplished. Her performance at the pianoforte is exquisite. Do you play, Miss Bennet? I am very ill indeed.
But all young ladies are accomplished. They sing, they draw, they dance, speak French and German, cover screens and I know not what.
There are not half a dozen who would satisfy my notion of an accomplished woman.
Oh, certainly. No woman can be really esteemed accomplished who does not also possess a certain something in her air, in the manner of walking, in the tone of her voice, her address and expressions.
And to all this, she must yet add something more substantial. In the improvement of her mind by extensive reading.
I'm no longer surprised at you knowing only 6 accomplished women, Mr. Darcy. I rather wonder at you knowing any.
You are very severe upon your sex, Miss Bennet.
I must speak as I find. Perhaps you have not had the advantage, Miss Bennet, of moving in society enough. There are many very accomplished young ladies amongst our acquaintance.
Come, come, this is a fine way to play at cards. You're all late.
You write uncommonly fast, Mr. Darcy.
You're mistaken, I write rather slowly.
How many letters you must have occasion to write, Mr. Darcy? Letters of business, too. How odious I should think them.
It is fortunate, then, that they fall to my lot instead of yours.
Do tell your sister that I long to see her.
I've already told her once by your desire.
I do dote on her. I was quite in raptures at her beautiful little design for a table.
Perhaps you will give me leave to defer your raptures till I write again. At present, I have not room enough to do them justice.
Well, I think it's amazing you young ladies have the patience to be so accomplished.
What do you mean, Charles?
You all paint tables and play the piano and embroider cushions. I never heard of a young lady, but people say she is accomplished.
The word is indeed applied too liberally. I cannot boast of knowing more than half a dozen women in all my acquaintance that are truly accomplished.
Nor I, to be sure.
Goodness, you must comprehend a great deal in the idea.
I do.
Absolutely. She must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages to deserve the word. And something in her air and manner of walking.
And of course she must improve her mind by extensive reading.
I'm no longer surprised at your knowing only 6 accomplished women. I rather want to know at your knowing any.
Are you so severe on your own sex?
I never saw such a woman. She would certainly be a fearsome thing to behold.